In progress.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and welcome once again to our weekly media briefing and public health update with Montgomery County Executive Mark Elrich. I'm Lorna Virgili, Hispanic Public Information Officer, and joining us today is Dr. James Bridgers, who is the Director of the Department of Health and Human Services. From that department, Ms. Kimberly Towson is also here. She is Senior Administrator of Communicable Diseases and Epidemiology, also for HHS. And our special guest today is Dr. Scott Bruton, who is the Director of the Department of Health, Housing and Community Affairs here in Montgomery County. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Good afternoon, Mr. County Executive. The floor is yours.
So good afternoon, and thanks everybody for being here today. So even though we just had a big event in Wheaton, which I'll get to later, I wanted to have this media briefing because there's a big topic I wanted to cover. A few weeks ago, we learned through a poll conducted for the Banner that the most pressing issue among our residents is the cost of housing ahead of the economy and crime. More than 80% of people told surveyors that the county's lack of affordable housing, let me emphasize that again, affordable housing is a problem. Housing has been a challenge for a long time. When I came into office as county executive, I knew the housing crisis was one of the things we were going to have to deal with. That's why we've continued to spend record amounts on affordable housing in each of my recent operating budgets. The Affordable Housing Pipeline Report helps us track our progress. And you can get an idea of that progress when you look at the graph that's up on the screen now. The latest report, which revises fiscal year 2025 figures and takes us through the first quarter of FY26, shows that the county has significantly increased the number of affordable homes it supports through its financial investments. I'm pleased that we have supported the development and preservation of 2,289 affordable homes since the start of 2025. The chart we are showing tracks our progress in those years and the two before that. This is incredible progress, and I wanted to acknowledge the work of our Department of Housing and Community Affairs in making this all happen. In FY25, we invested $108.3 million in 25 projects that supported 1,827 affordable units. The number of units created and preserved compared to 2024 increased by 61%. In the first 3 months of 2026, the county invested a total of $24.2 million across 3 projects to produce or preserve an additional 462 affordable housing units. The county has entered into or maintained existing payment in lieu of taxes or pilot agreements for 2 of these projects with an estimated total annual value of about $500,000. When you combine all of our projects from the last 3 fiscal years, 58 projects were created or preserved, accounting for 4,397 affordable homes. We've seen that we cannot rely on the market alone to produce enough affordable housing. They're not going to do it. And we're kidding ourselves if we think they are. This is a classic case of there's plenty of demand, but no one's willing to build supply because no one wants to build supply with the smaller margins you would have to settle for if you were building affordable housing. So affordable housing does not get built unless it's either required by the government or undertaken by the government. We do not get enough affordable housing to meet the needs of our community, or any community, frankly. This is why we've committed more than $316 million since FY23 to preserve, protect, and produce affordable housing throughout the county. In just the last 15 months alone, that's more than 2,200 units. These projects supported older adults, people in mental health recovery, working families, and first-time homebuyers. We're also ensuring that affordable units are being built and preserved, include 2- and 3-bedroom units for families, and creating increased opportunities for home ownership. We need to make these investments if we want to be a community where people aren't priced out by rising costs. Now I'd like to welcome Scott Bruton, the county's Director of Housing and Community Affairs, to discuss our affordable housing efforts even further. So Scott, thank you for being here.
Good afternoon, and thank you, County Executive Elrich. I'm, as you said, Scott Bruton, Director of the Department of Housing and Community Affairs. One of the key roles DHCA has within Montgomery County is providing financing in the form of loans and grants to create and preserve affordable housing. For the past several years, at the request of the County Council, DHCA has released quarterly updates that detail recently completed financing agreements, the number of affordable units to be produced or preserved in each project, and pending projects with affordable units that are in the pipeline for future development. As County Executive Elrich noted, county financing has developed or preserved 2,289 affordable units since the start of fiscal year 2025, and a total of 4,297 affordable units since the start of fiscal year 2023. This represents a significant increase over the last several years in the number of affordable units created or preserved through county financing. This increased level of development is the result of concerted efforts by the county executive and the county council to substantially boost the county's financial investments through the budget. It's also a result of our efforts at DHCA to efficiently use all available resources to address the county's housing needs. As the county executive noted, the county has invested $108.3 million in FY25 direct financing. The county also entered into or maintained existing payment in lieu of taxes or pilot agreements to support 7 projects with an estimated annual pilot value totaling $1.5 million for FY25. DHCA has been working hard to direct these resources to projects that will have an impact on the growing need for affordable housing throughout the county. DHCA funds often serve as gap financing. That is the last missing piece of the puzzle that makes these projects possible. They wouldn't be financially feasible otherwise in many cases. Some funds support the construction of new affordable multifamily apartment buildings, while other funds enable existing affordable housing units to be preserved. This is critical because it can help keep much needed affordable housing in certain neighborhoods and stop families from being displaced. Financing is used to provide funding for a wide range of households and to meet the needs of several underserved groups. Rental properties supported by county financing are affordable for households earning between 30 and 70% of the area median income. And sale properties, meaning for sale units for ownership, are affordable for households earning up to 80% of the area median income. This varies by family size, but for reference, the area median income for a family of 4 as of June 2025 is $163,900. In addition to targeting households at certain income levels, some of these projects specifically support seniors, people in mental health recovery, and first-time homebuyers. The developments include units to accommodate a variety of family sizes, with units ranging from studios and efficiencies to apartments or townhomes with 3 or more bedrooms. We've also supported homeownership opportunities, such as several townhome renovations in partnership with Habitat for Humanity. Currently, DHCA has 18 additional project proposals in the pipeline for fiscal year 2026, plus an additional 26 projects in discussion for support in future years. We look forward to closing on some of these projects in the coming months and to seeing more of the projects we finance start opening their doors to new residents. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Bruton. Members of the media, if you have any questions at this time related to affordable housing in Montgomery County, please raise your hands and you can ask the county executive and or Director Bruton. No questions on this topic? Mr. County Executive, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good. The Affordable Housing Pipelining Report is available on our website at montgomerycountymd.gov/DHCA. And you can read through each pipeline report going back to September 2022. Earlier today, we opened the Federal WorkSource Career Center, and for workers impacted by the shutdown and cuts to federal programs and departments. This new facility will serve displaced or former federal workers, but also those who may have worked for contractors, NGOs, and nonprofits, for-profits, and vendors who serve the federal government. To our knowledge, this is the first center in the nation operated by a large jurisdiction like ours to support displaced federal workers through personalized services and programs. Setting up a center like this does not happen overnight. Earlier in the spring, we foresaw the need to help our residents struggling under this federal administration. it was pretty clear what the president was going to do, which is basically eliminate massive services in the county, actually in the nation, that actually serve people. And in the process of eliminating the programs, you wind up firing a lot of people. And of course, that was necessary to do in order to give the billionaires the tax cuts that they wanted. So clearly a tough choice for the president to make, tax cuts for billionaires or human needs. But I think we know how he rolls with that. I asked the county council to devote $700,000 to this project, and I wanted to thank them for their support. The Mobilize Montgomery website was also launched to help coordinate help for job seekers. It brings together a wide array of organizations, including Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation, the Maryland Department of Labor, Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce, and all of the smaller local chambers of commerce, and the Maryland Women's Business Center, to name a few. For this collaboration, Montgomery County is home to a substantial number of federal employees, more than 70,000 people at the start of the year. This instability has significant repercussions for our community. The Federal Workforce Career Center is located at 11510 Georgia Avenue in Wheaton. The center is operated by WorkSource Montgomery and is designated to support transitioning executives, senior managers, and highly skilled professionals. It offers tailored services like executive career coaching, advanced resume and LinkedIn support, and crucial federal to private sector transition support. Job seekers can also access guidance for launching into self-employment through our entrepreneurship support. The center symbolizes Montgomery County's ongoing commitment to stand with federal workers and contractors, ensuring that you don't have to navigate these changes alone. This is all being necessitated because the president's decided to decimate the health and to raise the cost at the same time, which will negatively impact millions of Americans. And the sole reason to do this, as I said before, is using these savings that are achieved by hurting Americans in order to provide tax cuts for billionaires. I think, again, we know how much they suffer and how badly they needed these tax cuts. So what else could the president possibly do? Of course, the attack only plays part of the bill. Other savings come from dumping FEMA's responsibilities on the states off of the federal government. This happened in Maryland. We had FEMA disasters, things that qualified for FEMA disasters in Western Maryland. They got no FEMA money. The FEMA money is now going to red states, but apparently if blue states have a problem, there's not FEMA money. I got to say, and I'm going to say this about everything else that's been targeted, we have never had a president, we have never had a Congress that was willing to legislate in a way that you would support hurricane damage in a red state, but not support hurricane damage in a blue state. We've never had people make decisions about we're funding infrastructure, which is important to make America stronger, but we're only going to fund infrastructure if it happens in a red state, but not in a blue state. This is an unprecedented level of bias, discrimination, and frankly, evil. And it's not the way the country is supposed to be run. This is not a country where the winner takes everything. And if you lose, then all of a sudden, then you don't get the kind of support you'd expect from the federal government. It is so bad that even Ted Cruz made a comment about this notion of exacting revenge on people because I think he pointed out that you can do that, but if that's the norm, what happens when you lose? Is that going to be all right to exact revenge on people who didn't support you? I mean, that's not the way we govern. We don't do that in Montgomery County. We don't pick parts of the county to get services and parts of the county that we deny based on their voting records. It's absurd, it's undemocratic, it's anti-democratic, and it's anti-American, but it is the way the president does things. So people need to be thinking about this. NIH, NIST, and FDA are targeted for major cuts that will severely curtail their research into the causes of and cures for illnesses that takes a tremendous toll each year for millions of Americans. They pretend climate change doesn't exist, that emissions aren't harmful, and they're stifling wind and solar to increase our reliance on coal, a true destroyer of the environment. None of any of this has anything to do with efficiency. No one is doing these cuts to make American government more efficient. They're doing it to benefit particular corporations and particular individuals. No one announced how we'd have a better way of doing things that are faster and more efficient. that was not something that they talked about. They don't want to talk about the negative impact on millions of Americans, which is something else they've been avoiding. And the sole reason to do this is to use the savings created by hurting Americans to pay for his tax cuts. Of course, this attack only pays part of the bill. Other savings come from all the other cuts that he's making, and we're deeply concerned about where this all leads to. I got to say that we're going to remain committed to supporting our residents and our workforce and ensuring Montgomery County's economy remains strong and resilient. We're interested in job seekers. I should say interested job seekers can register on the Maryland Workforce Exchange and complete the FWCC intake form to get started. So there's help at our level and there's help at the state level. All of us are working together to mitigate the damage and to try to provide, new career paths for people getting fired from the federal government. I also want to thank Governor Moore for visiting HHS last Friday and highlighting the health exchange premium increases. I wanted to thank him for showing decisive leadership in the face of the federal government shutdown by acting swiftly to protect the well-being of the state's residents. Last Friday, he visited the Silver Spring Center to put a spotlight on the kind of social safety net actions performed by our county staff and partners. Governor Moore underlined the human impact of the shutdown as they risked the loss of critical health and human services, public health programs, and income supports. He recognized the serious economic threat posed by the shutdown, noting that if Democrats don't fight these changes, as many as 190,000 Marylanders could face an average increase of 68% in their monthly health care premiums. This is an enormous blow to working families throughout the state, and there are going to be people once again forced to choose between health insurance and putting food on the table. These are not the kind of things that you should be doing, particularly when you have a problem that had been collectively solved, and now you're trying to unsolve the problem by creating more pain and suffering. In response to this crisis, Governor Moore vowed to use state resources to provide stability. He announced that state government would continue funding certain federal programs. Specifically, he ensured that federal programs administered by the state, including Medicaid, SNAP, and TANF, will continue supporting working families. He also committed to providing greater flexibility to Head Start programs and guaranteeing that veterans maintain access to essential resources. I'm glad he singled out Head Start. It's a program that gives preschoolers the opportunity to catch up and to bring themselves to grade level by the time they enter kindergarten. One of the things the school system has talked about is how many children enter kindergarten at the 3-year-old level, not the 5-year-old level. And Head Start has been one of the most effective programs in bringing kids up to grade level when they hit kindergarten. So eliminating that program essentially puts a handicap on many children in the county and frankly in the entire country who are raised in poverty or in lower income households and don't have the wherewithal and support because their parents don't have the educational backgrounds in many cases that middle class families benefit from. All this is going to do is make it harder for children to succeed, and that should never be the goal of anybody's government. But apparently it's one of his goals. Governor Moore also announced that the state would use money to cover certain state employee salaries that are typically paid for with federal funds. Moreover, the Maryland Department of Labor will launch a federal shutdown loan program. This program will offer a no-interest $700 loan to essential federal workers who are not being paid and are ineligible for unemployment insurance. According to the governor's press release, the money will help meet expenses like rent and groceries and must be repaid within 45 days of the shutdown ending. The governor also called upon landlords, mortgage servicers, and utilities to do everything possible to alleviate the burden on impacted Marylanders, extending support even to those, like federal contractors, who may not qualify for specific state protections. These strong and comprehensive measures are what we need. Governor Moore's dedication to maintaining critical services and financial support across Maryland during this period of federal uncertainty is admirable, even though we all wish it were not needed, and that we all hope that this shutdown ends soon. More fun news from the federal government. Last week, the Trump administration canceled 12 Department of Energy grants totaling nearly $88 million in Maryland. Nationwide, DOE canceled $7.5 billion in grants to Democratic-leaning blue states. I'd like to explain some of what these cuts mean here in Maryland. These cuts are going to hit home, including funds to BG&E for grid reliability and battery storage. I thought grid reliability and battery storage were a national priority. Apparently not. It cuts research at the University of Maryland on technologies on cold climate heat pumps and industrial emissions reductions. And it cuts funds to a Maryland company working on improving building energy efficiencies. These cancellations ripple through our community. BG&E investments in grid reliability, for example, may instead be borne by our local BG&E ratepayers in higher electric prices. In a time of rising electric prices and economic uncertainty, local electric ratepayers cannot afford to subsidize partisan attacks on clean energy and innovation. Our federal government should instead continue to support energy system upgrades and technological breakthroughs. Before we open it up to questions, I'd like to give my staff an opportunity to provide any updates they want to share, and I'll start with my health team.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Mr. County Executive, for all of those wonderful updates and your candor regarding all of the shenanigans that are going on at the federal level. But I wanted to remind our viewers that within Montgomery County, help continues to remain within reach. Literally, we have our 24-hour support mechanisms for mental health through our 988, as well as through our crisis center. I've said this repeatedly on your weekly press conferences, that's for anyone who, through these turbulent times, who are experiencing some concerns or just need help. That number is 240-777-4000. That number will be posted in the chat box as well. And then lastly, our MC 311 that provides information on transportation, and Dr. Bruton talked about housing, and then even food assistance. So we have those resources again within reach. Please use those numbers if and when needed. I'd like to turn it over now to Ms. Kimberly Townsend, who will talk about our immunization and all things that matter regarding vaccinations and such. Kimberly?
Well, thank you, Dr. Bridgers. Good afternoon, everyone. We actually have no updates for this week, but we would like to remind everyone that it's a great time to get your flu shot. October is a great time, and we want you to stay healthy and help prevent you from getting the flu. So if you have questions about vaccines, we are always available at our immunization program, and that number is 240-777-1050. That's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Lorna, we'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. HHS team, members of the media, any questions, open topics for the county executive or the health team this afternoon? There's Mariam Shahzad, Montgomery Community Media. Good afternoon, Mariam. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Thank you. County Executive, I have a question about the leaf blower ban related to that. Yeah. Last week, some council members introduced a bill. They wanted to change the complaint procedure so it doesn't involve photos. So right. I wanted to, so I guess you heard about that. I wanted to get your opinion on that because I know a few months ago we were talking about the, how to take a photo, not include faces and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really happy that it's being done. Our folks worked out a way of doing this, and we're comfortable doing it without photographs. I understand the abundance of caution people want to exercise to make sure we're not taking pictures of the faces of people who, because they might be brown looking, would catch the attention of somebody in ICE. You know how diligent they are, hardworking people, these people they insist they want to remove from the country who have, will go to work every day and support their families. These are the people they want to remove. These are the people we're trying to protect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mariam. Members of the media, any other questions for the county executive this afternoon? No more questions? I guess we're done. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Have a great afternoon and stay safe. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.